everyone, welcome back. I'm here just to make this video to tell everyone about spiritual enlightenment. It's a demonic deception, it's a lie. There's no such thing as spiritual enlightenment, and that's probably going to shock quite a lot of people. All of these spiritual teachers and gurus are deceived, and my heart really goes out to them. They don't have the spirit of God, it's another spirit, it's a demon. So this happened to me, this actually happened to me. I just want to warn everyone because I care about people, I care about people's eternal destination. This video is not bashing on spiritual teachers because they're deceived. They've been deceived by the devil. And it was around 6 years ago. I was actually woken up in the middle of the night by a voice within my dream. It told me to go for a walk, and as it said that, I shot up out of bed and was like, "Ah!" And I heard it as I woke up. Go for a walk, 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 walk. I was full of this euphoric energy, and I felt like I drank a lot of coffee. I had a lot of energy. Normally I would sleep the whole way through the night, and I normally was a heavy sleeper. I wouldn't even get up to go to the toilet. I thought it was God because I'm not from a Christian family. My family aren't saved. So I went for a walk, which was very abnormal. I didn't normally go for a walk at like 3 or 4 a.m. It was completely pitch black. There was no one outside. I was living at the beach in Sydney. Climbed up some rocks and just sat at the top of a cliff waiting for the sunrise. And as the sun got to the top of the sky, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back home and do what I need to do. And I turned around and the world just looked completely different. I almost fell over. I was so shocked. I was so shocked. I was amazed at what I was seeing. It was, I thought I was seeing the world for the first time. I was seeing something that I'd never seen before. It was a new world. It was the same world, but it was completely different. I thought it was kind of the real world and that I was kind of waking up from some sort of dream or something. And I'd heard of enlightenment before, but I hadn't read anything about it. I didn't know really what it was. I actually just didn't have a clue what was going on. I wondered if anyone else knew about this. So everything looked like it had an extra dimension. It was kind of like before, I felt like I was seeing everything in 2D. Everything kind of looked grey and flat, and then suddenly everything was really 3D. It looked like it had an extra dimension. It was very, very bright. Everything looked like it was breathing, like the rocks. Everything just looked like it was alive. And also, my mind wasn't there. My mind I'd had no thoughts. And I saw that there was this spirit there in the place inside of me, in the space of where the mind normally would have been. I saw that there was this spirit actually there that seemed to be animating me, but I assumed that it was God, and I assumed that, because to be honest, if you see something like that, then you're not going to think it's a demon. You're gonna think it's God. If it's giving you this experience that's so beautiful, so amazing, so magical. We can't always put positive experiences with truth. So normally we think, oh, if something's positive, then it's truth, and if something's negative, then it's bad, or it's false. But positive doesn't always mean good, and it doesn't always mean truth. I assumed it was God because it was showing me things of a spiritual nature. And I thought, no, well, who else has got any business showing me these things? You know, if it's not God. It showed me that time was an illusion. It showed me that we are eternal. So it showed me truths mixed with lies. So it showed me that in between the space is not empty, it's made of a grid kind of. I have no idea if that's actually there, but the point was that it wasn't God that was showing me these things, and it was a demon. It was showing me that I was in illusion and all my problems had only ever been created in my mind, because it was showing me that my mind was in fact creating everything in the first place. It showed me that it was God, consciousness, a divine spirit inside of everything that had manifested into everything to create the world. So I didn't believe in evil or anything after that. I just thought it was all an illusion. I was able to just enter this trance whenever, this enlightened state. I was able to just go for a walk and kind of mold my reality. And what I found out when I became a Christian is this is actually called chaos magic. And it's actually a form of witchcraft, which is condemned in the Bible. So I was actually practicing witchcraft, but I didn't know I was doing it, because when I say I was practicing witchcraft, I wasn't sat there like with an altar doing, I don't know what they do, but I was still doing witchcraft, but I didn't know, because I was doing this other kind of witchcraft, which is basically same as manifestation. That's witchcraft as well. So manifestation and this sort of like chaos magic, anything where you are trying to bend your reality using your mind, revision and everything like that never got our teachers. It's a demonic deception, because the demons want you to believe that you are doing it. They want you to believe that you are God. They do that by granting your manifestation, so it looks like you've done it. So it looks like the world is a manifestation of the imagination, of consciousness, a hologram, Maya. But in actual fact, what manifestation is you are communing with the spirit realm illegally, and you are communing with demons, and they are bringing your manifestations to fruition by working through other people in the deception, or not even in the deception. So it looks like you're actually doing it, but you're actually just using witchcraft to alter the material world. And it's not only is it a sin, it's going against God, you're also opening yourself up to demons. And it's also very unethical. So if you're trying to kind of manifest your ex-boyfriend back, or if you're trying to manifest a certain job or something, you're actually using demonic spirits to influence the thoughts of another person, which is witchcraft. And even if you're just doing it for yourself, to make some money, or something to get healthy, to heal your body, you're still using demonic spirits to help you do that. So you're still inviting in demons into your life, you're still being deceived, and you're still sinning against God. So I actually healed myself once from a heart problem using my mind, and I honestly thought that I did it, but actually I was just being helped by demons, and they had given me the heart problem in the first place. They gave me the heart problem, and then they removed it again. So it made me think that I'd done it, and it deceived me. So I had this heart problem for 2 years. The medication was giving me memory loss. They said that if I didn't sort it out, then it would damage my heart muscle. So I needed the medication, but the medication was giving me memory loss. So they said, oh, this may be your last option, the ablation. And so it was like, I was kind of backed up into a corner. I didn't really have any other options, and I didn't want the operation because I was only 27. So I thought, well, it's during the COVID, so if I have a heart operation during the COVID and then I get the COVID, then I might die. So I was really worried. So I didn't want to have it done. And I thought, well, I'm God, you know, I can just use my mind to get rid of this heart problem. And so I just sat on the bus. It was like a 13-hour bus ride from Sydney to Melbourne. I'd been on holiday. I was living in Melbourne at that point. And I remember just getting on the bus and thinking, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I know who I am. And I thought I was God. I was like, I know I'm God. I can just manifest anything I want. And I got on the bus, left my medication, sat on the bus and went into a trance. I just used to be able to go into a trance like that, this kind of enlightened state, which is like where you connect with these demons. And then I said, I am healed. And I felt something explode in my heart. And then after that point, I was healed. So I truly believed that I'd done it. And I had a lot of these other weird mystical abilities and stuff, and things happening to me. So at this one point, I didn't leave my body, but my consciousness kind of went up into the sky. I would always go off for really long walks in this enlightened state, and I thought that the spirit was showing me the secrets of the universe. And so I would go for really long walks, and I thought I was communing with with God, but I was just yoking myself with this demon the whole time, and it was lying to me. It was showing me things that weren't the truth. Some of these things are true, you know, but they're like 99% truth, and then there's this like 1% lie in there that sends you to hell because you're deceived. At one point I kind of zoomed up to the sky, but I just felt like I was like looking down at the world, and the spirit would be telling me things in my spirit, and it told me in my spirit that the world was kind of like a giant Sims game, and that we were all playing this game, but we'd forgot, and there was only really one character. So it showed me that, you know, there was only one person here, and everyone had just forgotten that they were God. And so I thought it was my purpose to help people awaken. I used to constantly go and tell everyone about meditation and yoga, and talk to everyone about quantum physics, and I did think that the purpose of life was the evolution of human consciousness. And I did think that evil was an illusion created by the ego. But now I know that sin is the root of evil. All of the evil in the world is actually caused by sin, which is rebellion against God. So when we believe that we're God, there's no such thing as sin, because everything just is. There's no good or bad. But that's not the truth. And the truth is that we aren't God, we are not God, and there is such a thing as good and bad. And God is the one that defines that, and we can find that out by looking in the Bible and seeing how we're supposed to live. And I didn't used to believe in any of these things, you know. What else happened? I was trying to manifest the lottery numbers. So if you think that you're God, you know, that's one of the first things you're going to do, isn't it? Try and win the lottery. So I sat down and went into a trance and said, I want the lottery numbers. About 1 minute later, a red balloon, floated past my window. It was so far up in the sky that I could barely see what was written on it, but there was something written on the balloon. And I ran to the window and had a look, and it was a number 5. So I knew that this was the spirit giving me the lottery numbers. I felt like it was telling me, okay, now go for a walk. Hi guys, I'm so sorry my phone died, so I've just been charging my phone. So, where was I? So I was trying to manifest the lottery numbers, and I saw a red balloon, and then I went outside. The spirit used to talk to me within my spirit. It wasn't an audible voice. It used to tell me things about people in my spirit, and I thought I had the spiritual gift of claircognizance. I was walking down the street, and then one of the door numbers just kind of floated towards me. It would kind of be like shiny, kind of sparkly, 3D. It wouldn't move like all the way up to my face, but it would kind of just stand out a bit and kind of start shining. whenever that happened, I knew it was the spirit. It used to happen all the time. And so I knew that that was one of the numbers. And then I kept walking and, another number. Got about 5 numbers. I fell out of the Gnostic state and I started thinking and my mind came back. I wasn't able to get the rest of the numbers. And so I just tried to make them up and just put a lot of tickets on. I ended up winning a bit of money, but all of the numbers that the spirit gave me, they all came out. But the ones I tried to make up because I didn't know, they didn't. I really truly believe that it was God that stopped me from winning the lottery, because it says in the Bible that, let me just have a look. In Matthew 19:24, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. So if you're trying to manifest money, it's God that's stopping you from doing that. So that happened, and then what else? I had all of these weird spiritual gifts that were from this demon. I also had a lot of spiritual people always telling me things. I went to a house viewing once, and there was a man there that was a chi master, and he asked me if he could read my chi. He told me that I had a problem with my left shoulder and with my right knee, which I did, and I still do actually. I've got chronic bursitis and a torn meniscus. And then he asked me if he could read my chi, and he put his hand over my stomach and was like, wow, I'm so shocked, you've got all this chi. I've never been wrong before. This is really strange. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, you're just like smoking a cigarette, drink. I had a beer in my hand and I was smoking, and he just thought it was really weird that I had all of this chi, which they say is like a life force energy, but it's not. And the same things that used to happen when I was on my Reiki courses and things like that. I would do my aura readings, which tell you about your chakras and all of that. And my Reiki teacher was like, wow, I've never seen a reading like this before. It's really spectacular. And I had just almost perfect results, really, really high, off the charts vibration. So I thought that I was a mystic, and that's why all of these strange things were happening. And I never used to tell anyone that I was a mystic, because I thought it was like a secret, and I didn't think anyone would understand. Kind of quite secretive about it. And these things that I used to do. What was I talking about? Sorry. And so, honestly don't remember. Also, the Kundalini spirit has fried my brain, and I'll tell you about that later. Seriously, I can't remember. No, seriously, I can't remember. And so I'm at this house visit, and the chi man, and then he said, do you want me to tell you what your purpose is? Never knew what I was supposed to be doing. At this time I was trying to start a fashion brand and become a musician, because before the spirit had tried to get me to become a spiritual teacher, it actually had tried to get me to become a musician. So I was like, yeah, I want to know what my purpose is. And he said, you are a facilitator of the changing of society. And I didn't know what that meant at that time. I really didn't know what he was talking about. But later on, the spirit, this demon, was giving me more information, and I thought it was giving me the secrets of the universe, and it ended up giving me a channeled book. I had written it because of what happened to me when I healed myself from the heart problem. And then it kind of told me to write this book and help people learn how to do this stuff, like go into this trance and then mold their reality. And it was all about spiritual enlightenment, manifestation, the world being kind of a hologram, and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't write most of it, so it woke me up at 2:27 a.m. and I'd just sit at my laptop and write. I didn't know I was channeling it at the same time. I just thought it was coming from my higher self. It was called The Spider and the Cosmic Illusion. It used to give me visions when I was in a meditation of a spider making a web, and that led me down to reading the Vedas. It led me to the verse about the spider. I'm not going to quote anything from the Vedas because it's all demonic. Yeah, then I ended up getting into Hinduism, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to go out today and buy the books, the Vedas. I just went downstairs and they were just on the doorstep. They were literally just downstairs wrapped in a red ribbon, brand new. When it was trying to get me to be a musician, I sat there in a meditation and asked what I thought was my higher self, what I needed to be doing with my life, like what was my purpose. And it said guitar. And I'd never played guitar before. You know, I'm from a small village. There was maybe 2 people that played an instrument there. It was very unheard of for anyone to even have any hobbies. I was just a bit like, oh, that's interesting. And then, yeah, a guitar just turned up on my doorstep. I had a lucid dream once where the devil basically asked me if I wanted to sign a contract, basically sell my soul to get to receive good music and become like a great guitarist. And I said no. So I believed in the devil, but I didn't believe in the God of the Bible, which is just really ridiculous now that I am a Christian. So yeah, it tried to get me to become a musician, and then I said no to this deal with the devil, and then it tried to get me to become a spiritual teacher, and it gave me this channeled book, and I ended up, so I wrote this book called The Spider and the Cosmic Illusion. It ended up taking me down to the Vedas and all of that, and I just became like a yogi, meditating all day and, you know, doing yoga and chanting mantras and drawing all these occult symbols. I used to do Palawa and Reiki. I'd sleep on my yoga mat with no pillow and just wake up in the night, and the spirit would wake me up and give me like answers to questions that I had asked it about the universe, and I kind of said, okay, I'm going to write the first draft of the book. I'm going to write 50,000 words, and then I'm going to go outside and have a break. It turned out to be 80,000 words, but I ended up just going outside and saying I'm having a week off, and then I'll go back and finish the editing. And as soon as I went outside, there was a girl just putting a box down on the floor, a box full of books, and they were all the same book, brand new books. Every single book was the same. And I saw her putting the box down, and as she put the box down, she looked up at me, and she kind of almost like waited until I'd seen her to kind of put the box down. So it was like one of those weird synchronicities when you know that it's not anything normal. So I knew that it was the spirit telling me to go and look in the box, and I went over and looked at what was in the box, and I picked up the book. They were all the same book, and on the back of the book it said, have you just finished your first draft? It was a book about how to edit your book, and I'd just written this book. So I was like, oh wow, the spirit is supporting me. I'm being guided and supported by the universe. This is amazing. And I was actually going to spend the profits of the book on building homeless shelters to help people and indoctrinate them into yoga and meditation and stuff, because I thought that Christianity was demonic, and I thought that it was stopping people from reaching what I thought was their full potential of kind of becoming God. I knew that the book was going to make a lot of money because I knew that it was supernaturally supported, only I didn't know it was coming from the demonic realm, but I knew it was supernaturally supported, so I knew that it was going to make a lot of money. So I always used to get these angel numbers all the time, which are actually from demons. You'll basically just get a number, like a repetitive number. So for example, every time you look at the clock or you look at your phone, and it's always the same number, the same sequence, until you find out what it means, and then the number stops, and then after a while there's going to be a different number. And so it's one of the ways the enemy guides people in this deception. So if you're a Christian and you're getting guided by numbers, that's not God. They're not coming from angels. So then you'll get the number, you'll have a look on the internet, and it's linked up with all these different psychics. If you've got the spirit of divination, you are able to connect with these demons. You've got a demon basically that and you can earn a lot of money from it. There's a lot of money in the New Age practices, and there's a lot of money in Reiki and everything like that, and you can make a lot of money from being a psychic, but it's not coming from God, so it's gonna take you to hell. You're gonna have to give up your money. You're gonna have to give up your spiritual business if you want the truth and if you want to be following Jesus Christ. It told me, oh, you're working on a divine project. It's backed by the universe and it's supported by the divine. You're in this window where you've got this divine support, but you need to hurry up or you're going to go outside of the window, and then you won't have this support anymore. Like, you won't be receiving this divine support and guidance. So I was like, why is it telling me to hurry up? It was going against everything that the Spirit had told me, that you shouldn't rush, otherwise you get tangled back up in this illusion. So I was like, why is it telling me to rush? I was like, well, that's weird, but okay, because I just used to blindly follow everything that it told me to do. And so I'm just editing this book, trying to get it done, just on kind of like the final edit. And then I had a Kundalini awakening, which was a demon. I was basically demon possessed for 3 months, and it was trying to kill me. It was electrocuting me every day, and my brain was on fire. Literally, it felt like it was cooking my brain and my body from the inside out. It started with 2 dreams. The first dream I had, I'd been having this dream for years, ever since I played the Ouija board, and it was a demon. It just looked like a man in a black suit, and he would be like throwing me around the room with his mind, and I would just be bouncing off the walls like a ping pong ball. And so I used to get this dream quite often. It was a recurring dream that I had for years, and I remember thinking, the next time I get that dream, I'm actually going to confront this person in this black suit, because at this point I basically thought that everything was just a projection of my mind and I had full control over everything. As long as I faced this fear, which was this false evidence appearing real, then it would just go away. And all of these demons and stuff, I thought they were a projection of just my inner world. And so the next time I have that dream, I'm going to go up to him and ask him what he wants. Normally I just run away from him in the dream. This time I walked up to him and asked him, what do you want? And he said, I just want to show you something. And he put his hand on my forehead here. They call it the pineal gland, or the third eye, which is supposed to be your spiritual eye, which is, it's demonic. We shouldn't be opening it. But he put his hand there and he just released all of this DMT, and I went into this DMT trip. Didn't even know it was possible to be having these sorts of experiences when you're not even on a drug. And I wasn't, in the end it turned out that I wasn't even asleep, because eventually my room started to kind of fade back in very, very gradually, and all of these patterns faded back out. And then I realized that I had my eyes open the whole time. Then after that I had another dream where a huge snake, like kind of like a Loch Ness monster size, it was huge, came out of the ocean and swallowed a girl in my apartment building. And it was This dream was something else. It gave me such a, oh, there's something so evil about that dream. I remember waking up and just feeling like there was something really, really wrong, and I just felt very, 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 very disturbed. And then I had the Kundalini awakening, and a lot of people, I've heard that, you know, you can have dreams about snakes and stuff before you have this Kundalini awakening. So if you've seen a yoga diagram, you will know that the Kundalini spirit is depicted as a snake. That's not a coincidence, and it's because the snake is the devil. The serpent is the devil, and it tells us that in the Bible. It violently possessed me for 3 months. I thought I was going to die. I couldn't see anything. My consciousness was way up in the sky somewhere, and everything was huge. Everything was so bright. It wasn't like I couldn't see anything because everything was black. It was, I couldn't see anything because everything was so distorted and bright. Every time I went on my laptop to try to find out what, like, how to get rid of it or how to calm it down, it would start moving my body around, and this energy would go around inside of my body and then go into my head, and then I couldn't see anything again, and just so it was trying to stop me from going onto my laptop, because eventually I got delivered from it by listening to a YouTube video in the name of Jesus Christ. So that's why it didn't want me going on my laptop, because it didn't want me to find out that it was a demon. And I got delivered by turning to Jesus Christ and asking for forgiveness, and then listening to a deliverance prayer. And this all just happened in my bedroom, and I was possessed for 3 months before I realized what was going on. I was trying to surrender to it because I thought that that's what I needed to do to get to this next level of my enlightenment, like a more permanent enlightenment, which is where this demon actually just takes over you. I don't know where you go, but there's kind of like a split second. Adi Ashanti talks about it in one of his books, where there's this like split second where you just kind of pop out, and you know, it's just the demon there, but basically. So when you are trying to surrender yourself to this Kundalini spirit, you're just handing yourself over to the devil. You're being, and demonic possession, it doesn't always have to look like The Exorcist. I call it perfect possession, because these spiritual teachers, they are perfectly demon possessed. Satan appears as an angel of light. He doesn't come to us with his horns. He comes to us as an angel of light, because he doesn't want us to know. He wants us to stay deceived so that this deception can keep going on. Because if you think about it, what does anyone ever do when they get spiritually enlightened? They become a spiritual teacher. They don't do anything else. And it's because it keeps the game going. The spirit, the demon, indoctrinates you into the enlightenment lie, and then gives you a book, and then you become a spiritual teacher,